Hello everyone. In this episode, we bring you the topic the Iran Israel United States conflict, military developments, civilian impact, and global consequences. So, we'll be covering comprehensively various aspects in this video. So, stay tuned. I wish to begin it now. Recent tensions between Iran, Israel, and the United States have evolved into a major regional confrontation that is being closely monitored by governments, military analysts, and global markets. While the situation continues to develop, several key patterns have emerged regarding how the conflict is unfolding, where military operations are taking place, and what the broader implications may be for regional stability and global energy systems. To understand the current situation, it is useful to examine several aspects of the conflict. Where military strikes are occurring, the potential risk faced by civilian populations, the strategic objectives of the participants, and the possible future trajectories of the war. Military operations inside Iran have largely focused on strategic infrastructure and military installations. Air and missile strikes have reportedly targeted facilities connected to missile programs, air defense systems, command centers, and military bases. Several Iranian cities, including Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, and Kermanshah, have been mentioned in reports as locations where military or security related facilities exist. The capital city, Tehran, remains an important administrative and political center, while some military related locations in or near the city may be considered potential targets. Large metropolitan areas contain millions of civilians and extensive residential districts. For this reason, modern military operations generally aim to concentrate on specific locations rather than entire urban areas. Residents in large cities often experience indirect effects of conflict even when strikes are directed towards military facilities. These effects can include air raid warnings, temporary disruptions to electricity or communication, road closures, and increased security measures. Reports from conflict zones often describe attacks occurring in waves rather than continuous bombardment. Air or missile strikes may occur during particular operational windows, followed by periods of relative quiet. This pattern is common in many modern conflicts where operations are planned around intelligence, logistics, and operational objectives. Civilian populations inevitably face risk during armed conflicts. Urban environments contain complex networks of residential buildings, businesses, hospitals, and transportation systems that can be affected even when the intended targets are military facilities. However, the extent of civilian impact can vary widely depending on the scale of operations, the accuracy of targeting systems, and the duration of the conflict. Large cities such as Tehran continue to function to varying degrees even during periods of tensions, although economic activity and public services may experience disruption. Population movement can also occur during conflicts. Some residents may temporarily relocate to other regions within the country or to neighboring areas perceived as safer. At the same time, many people remain in place due to employment, family responsibilities, or practical challenges of relocating larger. la- At the same time, many people remain in place due to employment, family responsibilities, or the practical challenges of relocating large populations. Governments typically attempt to maintain essential services for civilians during wartime conditions. Food distribution systems, healthcare services, fuel supply, and public transportation are often prioritized to ensure basic societal functioning. Emergency management systems are also activated to coordinate response efforts if infrastructure is damaged. Modern military planning in many countries include the construction of hardened or underground facilities designed to protect critical assets from air attacks. Such installations can include command centers, missile storage areas, and other strategic infrastructure. These facilities are intended to preserve operational capabilities even during sustained military pressure. At the same time, the conflict has not been limited to one side. Israel has experienced missile and drone attacks targeting its territory. Some of these attacks have struck residential neighborhood, infrastructure, or public facilities. Missile defense systems attempt to intercept incoming projectiles, but interception rates are not always perfect, and damage can occur when missiles reach populated areas. Civilian casualties have been reported on multiple sides of the conflict, although precise numbers often vary between the sources and may change as additional information becomes available. In wartime situations, uh, data regarding casualties and infrastructure damage is often incomplete during early stages of the conflict. The United States has participated primarily through air and naval operations directed at military structure and by supporting allied defensive capabilities. US forces in the region also maintain bases and naval assets that may become targets during periods of escalation. One of the most closely watched aspects of the conflict involves maritime security in the Persian Gulf. A significant portion of world's oil supply travels through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime corridor connecting the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean. Because of a large share of global exports passes through this route, disruption to shipping traffic could affect global energy markets. Even the perception of potential disruption can influence oil prices and shipping infrastructure costs. Energy importing countries in Asia and Europe closely monitor developments in this region because their economies depend on stable access to international energy supplies. Government and energy companies therefore track shipping traffic, port operations, and security conditions around major maritime choke points. Military analysts have also examined the strategic approaches used in the conflict. Iran has invested heavily in missile forces and drone technology, which allow it to strike targets at considerable distances without relying primarily on traditional air forces. Missiles and drones can be launched from dispersed locations and may be used in large numbers to complicate defensive responses. These systems have become a prominent feature of modern warfare in several recent conflicts. Another dimension of Iran's strategy involves regional networks and allied groups located in various parts of the Middle East. Such networks can create multiple areas of tension simultaneously, increasing the geographic scope of potential confrontation. Naval strategy is another important factor. In addition to traditional naval forces, various tools such as anti ship missiles, fast patrol boats, and maritime drones can be used to threaten shipping lanes or naval vessels operating in nearby waters. Because global trade relies heavily on maritime transport, any disruption to major shipping corridors can have wider economic consequences beyond the immediate region. Despite the intensity of military operations, large scale ground invasions remain relatively unlikely in many scenarios because they involve enormous logistical challenges and risks. Iran's geography, population size, and terrain would make any sustained ground campaign extremely complex. As a result, many analysts believe the conflict could continue primarily through airstrikes, missile exchanges, cyber operations, and maritime tensions rather than large conventional land battles. Several potential trajectories for the conflict are discussed by strategic observers. One possibility is a limited regional war characterized by periodic strikes and retaliatory actions over an extended period. Another possibility is a prolonged war of attrition in which each side attempts to gradually weaken the other's military capacity and economic resilience. A third scenario involves broader regional escalation if additional actors become involved or if attacks expand across new geographic areas. Finally, diplomatic intervention by regional or global powers could eventually lead to negotiations aimed at reducing tensions or establishing a ceasefire. Because conflicts are dynamic and influenced by political, military, and economic factors, predicting, predicting exact outcomes remains difficult. However, developments in energy markets, shipping routes, regional alliances, and, domestic political pressures will all play important role in shaping the future course of events. Understanding these dynamics provides insight into how modern conflicts unfold and why regional confrontations can have consequences that extend far beyond the immediate battlefield. So that is our uh, content for the Iran Israel United States conflict. Our content has covered military developments, civilian impact, and global consequences. Thank you for tuning in with us. We'll get you more updates. Have a great day.